Hello again, friends. Fresh on my mind, have a little bit of time again today, so here we go with another 15-10. Hmm. Played fairly well last game for it being a few months in between. Um, Hopefully I can repeat that success. And I get the white pieces, so e4, e4, e5. Um, let's go into our Scotch Gambit. See what our opponent knows in this position. Those common book moves are knight f6. Um, that's by far the most common move, knight f6. Sometimes I still see a bishop out to c5, but not as frequently. Um, okay, so my options here are castle, and kind of hang this pawn, but I'm not worried about it because he's lining himself up for potential problems. Um, though he can get out of it if he knows what he's doing. Another option is to push the pawn and invite him to advance his knight. Um, I'm going to castle because those are the positions I'm most familiar with, the ones I've played the most frequently recently, anyway. Looks like we might be going into a mainline Scotch Gambit. Um, Simply developing the bishop is an option. Taking the pawn is an option. Where I pin the knight, he defends it, and I take it, and I go into this gambit. Because if queen takes, I can develop the knight and attack both pieces. And the pawn is pinned to the queen. Um, but that's a perfectly fine position for black to play. Some tricks, but not too scary. Suspect my opponent does not see the Scotch Gambit all that frequently, so he lashes out with his pawn immediately in the center, which seems a little suspicious. Immediately in the center because that gives me the opportunity to open the E file with his king still in the middle of the board. Hmm. And I don't see why I shouldn't do that. I think that that's absolutely the move he takes. Now I have the opportunity to give this check. He blocks with the bishop and prepares to castle. I attack the bishop, but it's defended 3 times. So he just goes ahead and castles. I take, he takes. And then maybe I advance my knight. If he takes with this knight, if he takes with this knight. Um, I don't know. If I take back my knight or my pawn now and I just win back material and threaten to double his pawns here, he's still not castled. So knight takes pawn seems like a reasonable move. If takes, queen takes, and I'm attacking this, So the queen can't come out to block because I take the knight. The knight retreats, opening up the queens. Maybe I swing over here. I think taking the pawn. I think taking the pawn back is the move. He's flirting with disaster if he leaves his king in the middle much longer. But he's also faced with getting doubled c-pawns, which doesn't look great for him either. Gives me long-term strategic advantage. Um, I wouldn't be surprised by just a simple bishop development here to get castled and accepting the doubled pawns. I also would not be surprised by knight takes knight, queen takes, and now I've got two pieces on the knight. Knight retreats. Yeah, I think he did want to take the knight because I was attacking the square and keeping his bishop out. That's a pretty good blocking piece. If I develop the rook, so now rook here, and he can block with the bishop, protect his queen, or I can trade queens right now and keep his king in the center. Is that something I want to do? Maybe check. If I check, he blocks with the queen. I protect the queen. Here, he can still block with the bishop, but then I take. Takes with check again, and he's lost a pawn. So I think he either blocks with the bishop here or the queen here. And if he does either, I just protect. And his king has to stay protecting the bishop, so he's still not castling. So let's check. Let's give him a check. Keep his king in the middle of the board and not let him castle. Now the queens are traded. Open board, king stuck in the middle. And I want to get my pieces developed. So where do my pieces want to go? The knight naturally wants to come towards the middle. That's a given. Um, but do I want to attack the knight first? Oh, he decides to give up a pawn. He decides to give up a pawn. Well, I'll take it. A pawn is a pawn. Okay. So he gives up a pawn in order to keep his pieces untangled. Can't say that I blame him. It is not completely devastating. It's on the king's side. Three versus two on the king side. The king's already over here to help protect, but let's see if I can convert this material advantage into a win. All right, bishop out. Rooks are connected. This development looks lovely. So I'm guessing knight's coming here pretty soon. He gave up the pawn to get his initiative going. Pretty good. Pretty good move. I'm tempted to keep his knight out, but still the rook will be coming here, and I'm going to have some pressure on this f pawn. Um, okay. Um, I'm tempted to challenge the bishop and just go into an endgame situation up a pawn. If he takes, I take back with the rook. If he pins, my rook is not protected, so I think I slide the king over to protect the rook, resume the threat on the bishop, and then if takes, I have an isolated pawn, but it's an isolated passed pawn, even though it's on the third rank. um, and then I go into the endgame with knights. A knight and a rook versus a knight and a rook. His king's a little closer to the center, probably equalish, maybe a slight edge towards white. Um, I'm gonna go ahead and just unpin this immediately and see what move order he tries to take. He can come here and try to attack, which is probably a pretty darn good move, because that keeps my bishop out of the square and attacks this square. So even if I kick him, I'm going to lose a pawn. I should have thought that through a lot better. A lot better. Well, is it any different, really? Knight takes. I go in with a knight. He goes in with the bishop. Knight takes. Pawn takes. Rook comes over. Push the pawn to keep it defended. His bishop is very active on this diagonal, and my knight is undeveloped. So it's not great, but I keep my material. Uh, well, maybe I don't because he can check. And I come back and he retreats, and then I win the bishop. So he doesn't retreat. He moves his bishop to defend the knight. That might be my best option. Let's defend. Let's develop the piece. Get my pieces out. Should have thought that king move through a little bit more. Because I did not love it after I did it. Oh, okay. He pins it. That loses a. Oh, no, it doesn't. No, it doesn't, because he deflects my king. If I take the bishop, he checks, and I lose the rook. But do I get two minors for the rook? Takes, check, king here, check, king takes. I get a bishop and a knight Although developing this knight is going to be hell. He's offering me two miners for a rook and a pawn. Do I take him up on that? It's an unbalanced game. His rook is planted on the back rank, pinning my knight. So let me try and envision that position. Takes, check, king here, rook takes, check, king takes, knight. What is black's follow-up? Get his rook over here in preparation of planting both rooks on the back rank. Then I retreat the bishop and I block. Well, that doesn't, if his rook's here, he's still coming both knights, both rooks to the back rank. And he's going to win my knight, which wins him the exchange when all is said and done. So does he find this move of stacking his rooks on the back rank, on the first rank? Takes, check, king here, check, king takes knight. Rook here. I don't know what I can do there rather than go into an in-game down the exchange. Other options to give him the pawn, I guess, here. Just give him the pawn. I attack that. What if I develop the knight? Um, Knight takes check, pawn takes, bishop takes. Just give back the pawn. Here, knight here. Here, knight back. And he does lose the bishop. I think I just give up the pawn. I'm not going to try and be fancy and give up the exchange. Yeah, I'm just going to give up the pawn. Give the pawn back. Go into an equal end game rather than a exchange down. Okay. So which pawn is he going to take? Oh, oh, he's definitely going to take this one because he's threatening this. Although here takes, here takes, check saves the exchange, but it loses another pawn. I don't know that I have a better option though. Struggling a bit. I do want to get off of this so that I can check and save my exchange, but it's going to give him a 3-on-2 over here. Perhaps I can Work a little magic. I don't know. Good trade. And then check, and then go after these pawns. Win back a pawn. Or do I try to leave material on the board and fight for a win? I'm really on my heels here, so I don't know. Here, he could come this way. That invites a check. I don't know. I'm going to leave the rooks on the board and see. Is that seems like a dangerous proposition. But I'm going to go for it. I'm going to leave the rooks on the board. Try and keep playing for some sort of win, even though I'm down material and positionally. That's kind of how you lose drawn positions. It's something I should probably get better at. Because if I were playing a higher rated opponent right now, my mentality would be trade rooks and play for the draw. So kick the knight, perhaps. He comes back and attacks my other rook. And then what? He gets to just kick my rooks around and I don't get my pawn. So yeah, I should have traded rooks first. But I do not have all day to think, so that's really my only option. There or there. He comes back and attacks my rook. And I go after his knight. I'm a pawn down in the end. Centralizer king. Get checked. Attack the knight again. I've made some bad decisions later in this game. I liked my position in the early middle game, opening and early middle game. I really liked the position, but I went wrong um, in this series of exchange, giving up the pawn again. Not seeing that knight move here. Uh, so I wonder what a better move would have been in that position, if I can recall it. Hmm. That king move, that king move over here to defend uh, the rook. I maybe just keeping the knight out of the square. I don't know. Maybe taking the the two minors, but that left my knight and rook just boxed in here, and he was going to win the exchange back at least, I think, um, or be up the exchange uh, when everything came out of the wash. It did depend him finding this move though to bring the rook down, but that move was there and it could have been found. I found it. He could have found it. So what in that position should I have done? Guessing never allowed his knight to come in. That's probably the best idea. Now I'm briefly thought about this, but he just pushes his pawn and my knight just has to come back. Um, so his knight's taking away my knight advancing. Um, what's the rule? The rule is when you're down material, you trade pawns, not pieces. When you're up material, you trade pieces, not pawns. I think that sounds familiar. Um, so let's keep our pieces on the board. I block the check. He gets down here to the second, and my pawns are destroyed. Block the second rank. I always work my way up the board with a king. Let's go this way just to keep any potential forks off the table. Forced trade. I guess there's a forced trade right now. He could absolutely just give me a check and force me to lose a knight. Here, either one. It's a trade of knights, although this one, guess that lets me climb up the board a bit, but I'm getting into some dangerous territory up here with my lonely king. I'm really trying to spin some magic here and create something out of nothing. Check me here. I think this one is probably just the most reasonable move because it's threatening. I've got to take, and then he checks, and I guess I can come over here. So I would be threatening. Okay. He is going to threaten. Come here, he's got this check, and I lose the rook. Come here, he's got this check, and I lose the rook. So what if we connect our rooks? So at least I don't lose material. Other than another pawn, I guess, because he can check. I have to move. He can check again. I have to take. Or no, I can take the rook. I take the rook there. So that's a good move too. It's a very good move. So let my king creep closer over here to these pawns, which might allow me to hold something of a draw. Well, if I were him, I would have just traded some pieces. Um, because that's the simplest way. Leaving complications on the board only favors me because it's allowing my king to get position. He might overlook some sort of tactics, and like this just allows me to. Although I go here, the knight's pinned, so I'm not going to move the knight away. He just brings the rook back, and the knight still falls. But I'll see a quicker way. I'll see a better move at the moment, and um, check, check. As long as I can keep his king partitioned off, keep him from escaping this corner. Got some reasonable play. Let's come back here. It's coming back here would have allowed this, and I have no choice but to block with the rook. I mean, there's a ton of good moves here. He doesn't have to keep checking. Just retreat the rook and force a trade. Or check the king and force a trade. Mm, I'm going to run out of moves. Lift the rook here. Yeah, let's lift the rook here. Check. I've got this. Oh no, I don't. I get mated. Yeah, there's mate. Good game, friend. Not my finest hour, but a fun game. I know where I went wrong. I had quite an advantage at some point. I played that like a 1500. My end game was blunderous, which I kind of already knew. So let's review this. I had a very large advantage for a brief moment in the opening, and I gave it up with a blunder. This was a mistake. I should have come over this way. That kind of. Yeah, I'm aware of that idea, and I should have seen that. I got greedy and just wanted my material back, but I'm still okay here. That was a blunder. And I take the queen. No, I didn't. I should have. I can't believe I missed that. Deflect the king, of course. Deflect the king. He can't take it. He just moves his king up. Ah, and then I check, and that's just such a monstrous advantage. Ah, I missed a killer tactic there, and I should have seen that. And if you saw it watching along, kudos to you. Well done. That's why you study your tactics regularly. Ah, okay. I still am comfortable here, though. I have a nearly a pawn advantage. I have a full pawn advantage now. So this isn't bad. This was my questionable move. Yeah, I gave up my most of my advantage here. And he should not have done this. He should not have brought the knight in. And I should not have brought the bishop out. I should have kicked the knight, forced him to take here. And then what? What if I do kick him here and he goes knight takes up to rook e5 is the move, attacking the bishop. And then working the king and the knight, I give up a rook for a knight and a bishop. Okay, I can see that. But I didn't see that in the game, and I blundered this away. And from here on out, it looks like oh, I get a chance to equalize later. So let's look at this end game. He wanted me to take. Okay, I should have traded. Got a rook off the board, and had a chance at equality. Should have again got a rook off the board. And I start getting silly, moving my king out. Here's a chance at equality. Maybe I just defend. Do I just defend the knight? Oh, with the other rook? Really? I defend it. When he kicks it, I take, and then there's no more attack on the knight. Okay. Did not see that, and I get mated. That was a blunder. I should have done the other pawn because now it is mate in two. Forced mate in two from here. The other pawn would have given my king an immediate hidey hole. So my endgame needs some work. This is not new information, but so that wasn't how he forced mate. This is blunderous, and it's forced mate in two from here. So I don't have the squares escape. I do have this one. What? What? Mm. What's the mate? Help me find the mate. Mm, mate into check here. And this is the only move. King here and pawn here is mate. Yes, yes, it is. Okay. But I still am not even thinking about mate. I wasn't looking at my mating patterns. So, well, I hope you learned something from that. I know that I did. Learned that my end game still needs work and that I'm capable of missing tactical blunders. It's always nice to be humbled. Come back and enjoy some more chess with me. Thank you for watching.